And welcome to a brand new series I'm going to be starting over here at the Trademark Sports YouTube channel. Now, what we're going to be doing is having a look at all the transfer news, gossip, signings, that sort of thing from the last month, compiling it all into one place, having a chat about some of the really big stuff, and then all the other sort of lesser news anyway, putting it down on the ticker below so you are up to date with everything that's happening. Now, there's a lot that happens in the world of transfers in rugby league, so let me know if you think it should be a bi-weekly thing, every fortnight, or a monthly thing. That's completely up to you guys. Just let me know what you think after this video. So the first discussion topic we're going to talk about today is around Jerome Lewis. So obviously he's one of the best 5'8" in the comp. He has won 2 grand finals in a row. Pending this weekend, he might win a third. So Panthers have reportedly told Jerome Lewis that he needs to accept a deal that's under $800K to remain at the Panthers. Now that, I think, is huge because a guy like that with his stature and his achievements in the game can demand a lot larger figure than that. And there are other rumors too that a club like the Bulldogs are thinking about pursuing him, as well as the Dragons recently. And those kind of clubs, they could probably offer him $1 million plus. So it's sort of, he needs to have a look at that and think, all right, do I want to sign for $750 for a couple of years and hopefully win some more comps with this team, and then maybe get his paycheck after that, all pending. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well for him in his career. Or does he go and chase the bag? And honestly, you have to respect it. A lot of people go, oh yeah, they're only going for the money. Absolutely, it's a short career. He's nearly done everything possibly he can do in the comp. I don't think Jerome Lewis has capability to win a Dally M, and that's pretty much the only thing he hasn't done so far in his NRL career. And he's 26, which is ridiculous to say. But let me know what you think you would do if you were Jerome Lewis. Honestly, if I was him, I'd probably stay, because $750,000 a year is still a lot of money if you think about it. In the grand scheme of things, it's a lot. You're pretty well off there, and you're playing with your best mates in a really, really good football side, dominating the competition. If I was him, I'd be staying. But hey, I also absolutely condone the decision to go chase the bag if I was Jerome Lewis. Moving on now to the next thing I want to talk about. Obviously, as a Dragons fan, I'm going to bring up some Dragons things. And one of the big signings, I think, and we'll see how it goes, is the Dragons have signed Cole Flanagan on a 2-year deal. Obviously, his dad, Shane, is now the Dragons coach for the foreseeable future, and hopefully for a long time if he's successful. But bringing in Cole Flanagan, I think, could actually pay dividends. Now, from what we've seen this season, I think Cole Flanagan is probably a better dummy half, and he's actually a halfback. And Dragons need a dummy half. Obviously, Jacob Little's played some decent footy, but I don't think he's fit enough to play the whole 80. And they've got Connor Malizan coming through, who, he's an absolutely fantastic player. And I think he might just be 1 or 2 years off the full-time first grade. And he's also got the build where he could probably play a bit of middle forward, as a 13 kind of role. Cole Flanagan also, he brings some cover to the 7 position if Ben Hunt decides he wants to leave, which we'll talk about a little bit later too. Decides to leave. He wants to leave if the Dragons decide to let him go. But Cole Flanagan too, his best footy he's ever played was under his dad at the Sharks. And he actually was really good at the Roosters too. He got to use a bit of a scapegoat in that year. I think he played there 2020, and that was just a weird year for rugby league, weird year just in general. And I think he just got made the scapegoat a bit for a lackluster Roosters team, which since then hasn't been any better than what they were that season. So was it really Cole Flanagan's fault? And then again, at the Bulldogs, a terrible situation. There's not many players in the last few years that have gone to the Bulldogs and got any better. Most of them have got worse. And that's just a system thing that the Bulldogs need to figure out. And maybe getting rid of Cole Flanagan is part of their process for doing that. But hey, I think there's a better football player in Cole Flanagan than a lot of people are saying and making out. And maybe that's just because I am a Dragons fan and I want that, the best for him. But fingers crossed that he does the best role he can at the Dragons. And I think, even as a 14, I think there's a position for him in rugby league there. And I think Cole Flanagan, he certainly, for me, isn't as bad as everyone's made out. And I always thought it was weird how the Roosters just gave him the flick. But we'll move on and talk about another club for a second here. Okay, next topic on the agenda is that Haumole Olakau'atu has signed a monster contract. 7-year deal worth apparently $850,000 a season. Now, for Haumole Olakau'atu, congratulations, well deserved. Get your money, son. But from a Manly perspective, their salary cap seems quite mismanaged. Now, if you have a look at it, the Drabojevic are together on a combined $2 million. You've also got DCE on, I think, 1.2. So there's $3.2 million in the cap there. Oli Kawatu on $850, that's $4 million. Luke Brooks apparently on $650, and they said that they couldn't re-sign Latu Fanu on $500 for salary cap reasons, which make of that what you will. Ruben Garrick probably around $400. Who else you got in that side? Everyone else is sort of a bit moneyball there, Josh Schuster on $800K as well. So if you do the maths there, we're looking at over $5 million of their cap taken up on half of football, on a starting side. So everyone else there is going to be pretty much on Moneyball kind of figures, and you've got someone like Lachlan Croker who's going to want more money, and that's Oli Kawatu. He is a phenomenal football player, lots of talent, and could do amazing things in a game. But the way I see his form, he usually starts the season red hot, goes so good, and towards the middle of the season, a bit quiet, has some lulls, and then picks it right up again at the end of the season. And do you want to be paying $850? Well, $850,000 a season for someone who isn't going to be showing up week in, week out consistently. And maybe that's just a coaching thing that he's had so far, and it carries some injuries and he's playing through that kind of thing. And if he is, that is fantastic. And that's the kind of guy you want at the club. It just doesn't matter what's going on. He wants to put that jersey on and perform the best he possibly can for the club. But it does make me worry slightly. There's just so much money tied up in that club in different areas, and for me, I don't think you can win a comp when you've got so much money. Because Josh Schuster's probably going to be playing lock forward, maybe, or in the second row. If he's in the second row, it's $1.7 million of your salary cap in the back row. That's not going to win you comps. It's just, I don't know what's happening at Manly at the moment. It seems like there's something fishy going on in the background. And I hope for Manly fans, it's not like that, because they deserve better. They're some of the most passionate fans out there. Oli Kawatu, as I said before, is a sensational player, and I really hope he lives up to this price tag. And I hope that doesn't weigh him down, because that's the thing. I'm talking about it now, that price tag. There's going to be rugby league outlets everywhere talking about how much money he's on, especially if it doesn't perform next season, and that noise can get to you. And I hope it really doesn't, because as I said, he's got supreme talent and can be one of the game's best second rowers. I mean, he already is one of the game's best second rowers, but he could go into representative honours and that sort of thing in the next couple of seasons if he keeps his head down and works hard, which I believe he definitely can, and that's his ceiling for me. But I just don't know about that contract. In 7 years too, you're tying a lot of money up there if you're the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, moving on to a guy who I think is going to become an absolute sensation at his new club. Paul Aliami has signed a 1-year deal with the Panthers, supposedly around that minimum figure. The massive raps were on him at the Bulldogs, and coming through the grades, he was a sensation. So good. There's a highlight somewhere if he a flick pass of him in SG ball, and I saw that. I was like, wow, this guy is got X Factor, ready for the big stage. And Penrith have that system that they sign these guys and they're going to go there and become absolute stars. He's a right centre by trade, carries the ball in his right hand, left hand fend, really good flick pass, great defensively too. And he got caught out a few times at the Bulldogs, but again, as we spoke about before, that might be a system thing. And those guys inside probably weren't great defenders either. And just the Bulldogs in general, they've had a tough time in the last couple of years. But Paul Aliami, man, for me, I think he can replace Stephen Crichton quite well, because that's a huge hole that Penrith have to fill. He's probably, for me, the best centre in the competition at the moment. Every time I watch him play, he just gets better and better and better. And I really hope the Bulldogs play him in the centres and not at fullback. But that's a story for a different time. Paul Aliami, for me, he is going to be a sensation out there. And in the best system in the comp at the moment, surrounded by unreal players. And look, I think when you're playing off Nathan Cleary, anyone's going to look better. Nathan Cleary could probably make me look like a superstar, let alone a guy like Paul Aliami who has supreme talent. I saw that and was just like, man, how has every other club let that happen? So you got those struggling teams who need outside backs, like your Dragons, your Tigers. Heck, the Dolphins could have used them. The Titans even the Panthers just continue to get better. They're going to win so many comps the next 5-6 years. Paul Aliami, watch him turn into an absolute bona fide superstar over this next 3 or 4 seasons. Now, on to the last topic I want to discuss in this episode of the Transfer Roundup. Ben Hunt has publicly stated that the Dragons are not his first choice in an interview the other week, and as a Dragons fan, this hurt. He's meant to be our club captain, and I understand that he wants a release and all this sort of stuff, but he's now coming out and saying, I'll play anywhere. And originally, it was, I want to go back to Queensland, and I want to go and be with my family and stuff, and I respect that. I think everyone can sort of relate to that and go, you know what, that's a fair enough reason for wanting to move jobs and leave, that sort of thing. You've looked at that in your own life and thought I had to move away from home and from my family for a job, and I want to move back there. And I was look, absolutely fair enough. We're all human. But when he's now coming out and saying he doesn't care where he's playing for, that sort of thing, like I just want to be out of the Dragons, and he's meant to be our club captain. Jeez, it just stings. It doesn't, like, it rubs me the wrong way. Shane Flanagan's out there going, nah, he'll be there. At least we want him there. We want to win, and those sort of things. Like, do we want to win with him, though? Like, it just, there's something about it that really, really doesn't make, like, it just boils my blood, and I really hope he doesn't have the C next to his name next season. Honestly, when there's someone like that, get rid of him in general. I think when you have, like, these guys, like, these kind of clubs that they just seem like they don't care, they don't want to be there. When you're a struggling club, you don't want that kind of culture in there. You want people to, like, be playing for the jersey, and whether, like, if you have to bring up juniors and blood them a little bit early, so be it. Look at the Newcastle Knights; they had to do it. Then you had guys like Lockie Fitzgibbon, Phoenix Crossland, those kind of Bradman Best that were there during the tough times, but they absolutely bled blue and red and paid dividends for them this year. Like, they are now on the trajectory to looking like they're going to play some really high level footy the next couple of years, and they were winning spoon. They won like 3 games in 2 years, like not so long ago. So I think you really, really need to implore a system that everyone there wants to be there, wants to play for each other, and I don't think Ben Hunt's going to give his best, and especially if he's the captain of that club. That's not what I want to see. So that wraps up the first edition of the, like, transfer wrap, transfer talk, whatever, of, like, the NRL over on this channel. Let me know what you thought, any improvements you want to see from this. As I said at the start of the video, whether you want to see it twice a month or once a month, there's a, like, big roundup, or, like, little bits and bobs here and there. So yeah, let me know what you thought. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content. Thank you for watching, guys.